Question number 5 is another condensing example. So in all honesty, questions lettered A through F are going to remind you a lot of question number 4, which you already did on the previous page. It's really questions G through L that look a little bit different. So I'll do one example in the first 2 rows just to confirm that you already know what to do there. And then I'll focus more of my attention on letters G through L because those are indeed a little bit different than what you would have seen already. The question I'll pick to do first is question letter D, just because we haven't really done anything with parentheses. And this one is actually a great example because it ties together everything that we've learned. It has the product property, which you can see with the plus sign. It has the quotient property, which you'll recognize by the minus sign. And it has the power property, which you'll recognize because there's a number in front of this 2 natural log 4 situation. So, first thing I'll do is take care of powers. Generally speaking, if you see a power, take care of it first because it helps make the problem look a little bit more streamlined. I'll see this 2 in the front and I'll immediately bring it up to make it a power of 2 instead. I like to just cross it out to show that I've dealt with it, and then more importantly, I'll rewrite the problem so that I have natural log of, instead of 4 squared, 16 minus, and then I'll copy the rest, natural log 2 plus natural log 4. Now, we know we're going to have to use the quotient and the product properties. The question is, what do we do first? And usually, when we follow the order of operations, we heed the warning that parentheses need to happen before anything else. So that tells me that I need to focus on whatever's inside the parentheses. And I'll focus then specifically on that plus. The plus tells me I'm going to use the product property, which means I will multiply to condense those down. Natural log 16 will stay for a second, the minus sign stays for a second, and now I can condense these two things. Natural log 2 plus natural log 4 is natural log 8. I condensed it by multiplying. Now I don't have to really put it in parentheses because there's only one thing. Parentheses are usually when we have 2 things. So now that I've condensed it down, I don't need to write the parentheses. And now I'll condense it even further. Natural log 16 minus natural log 8. I'll need to use the quotient property for this because I see the minus sign. So 16 divided by 8 is 2. Therefore, my condensed answer is natural log 2. Notice we still have to write the natural log because we have to be consistent. The problem had natural logs to begin with, and just because I've condensed the numbers doesn't mean the log goes away. It just means that I have one single log in my answer instead of 1, 2, 3 separate logs from the beginning. Again, you can always check your answers with real numbers by using a calculator. If I typed 2 natural log 4 minus parentheses natural log 2 plus natural log 4, I would get a decimal that when I type in my answer of natural log 2 matches precisely. So it's another nice option to consider, but I know not everybody has the luxury of a calculator or time, so checking the answer key is obviously another good way to check. Now, let's talk about letter G, because we've seen a few examples now of what to do when there are numbers, but what do you do when everything just looks like a variable? In letter G, there are no grouping symbols, no parentheses or anything, which just means that we'll go from left to right. But what do you do then when you have log A plus log B? If you're not sure what to do, just default to what you know. Plus means multiply, so I'm going to multiply A times B. I don't have to do anything with the log, but the log still needs to be there. So log of, as a quantity, AB. Now I still have the minus sign and I still have log C, so that's still there, but notice I have condensed the problem a little bit. Condensed means shorten. I had 1, 2, 3 separate logs, now I'm down to 2 logs. And I know I can condense further because I know that this minus sign is a quotient indicator, so I can divide. Now you'll notice I'm going through the motions here, but I'm not actually multiplying or dividing. I don't know what A and B are, so I just wrote it as a product, A times B, or AB, without actually multiplying them together. Same thing's going to happen with this quotient here with the C. I'll have the word log, because again I'm not doing anything with it, but I don't know what A and B are, I don't know what C is, I can't really divide these things, so I'll just write it as AB, whatever that is, divided by C, whatever that is. So my condensed answer, which I should have written in the box, is log of AB divided by C. Now there's no way of knowing what A and B are. There's no way of knowing what C is. I mean, if you want to, especially for those of us who are using this calculator thing, you could make up numbers for A, B, and C and just see if it works. For example, if I want A to be 2 and B to be 7 and C to be, oh, I shouldn't have picked those numbers. Let's see, A to be 2, B to be 6, and C to be 4. It's really not like it matters, but I'm just picking numbers that could work. I could go into my calculator and say log of A, that's 2, plus log of B, that's 6, minus log of C, that's 4, decimal. And then I could type log of, and then do this quotient here, A, 2, times B, 6, divided by C, 4, and, whoops, used too many parentheses. There's the same decimal. So in theory, you could do that if you wanted to. You could make up numbers. But if you kind of got the idea and you're just going through the motions, these might not even be necessarily worth the time. It might be easier to just go through the motions without numbers because there really aren't too many choices. You're either multiplying or dividing. That's it. So let's try another one. Let's try letter H. In letter H, try to take care of these potential powers first. I say that because potential powers are usually the first step. If I take this 2 and bring it up as a square for the A, and if I take this 3 and bring it up as a cube for the B, then I'll just quickly rewrite the problem so it looks more familiar. Natural log of A squared minus natural log of B cubed. The minus sign tells me that I'm going to use the quotient property, so I have a natural log of, then I show the quotient, A squared divided by B cubed. I don't know what those things are, so I don't actually have the ability to square or divide, but I can write it as my answer, natural log of A squared over B cubed. One quick important thing to note, you're condensing, which means that the answer still has a single natural log. The natural log doesn't go away, it just appears outside of whatever your condensed expression is. So you should always check to make sure that your answer has the same type of log as your original question. Also worth noting, it only has one single log. That's the whole point of condensing, is that you shrink it all down to one problem. Sometimes people mistakenly write their answers as, and I'm going to write this as a post-it, but then I'm going to burn this post-it because this is so wrong. Sometimes people write natural log of A squared over natural log of B cubed, thinking, oh, I did it, it's divide. And that's not right. The whole point of condensing is that you have fewer logs than you started with. I had 1, 2 logs at the beginning. It doesn't make sense to end with 1, 2 logs. You haven't done anything. It's not 2 logs separately. It's 1 log together as a quantity together of A squared over B cubed. So just a little note, it's something that your math analysis teachers will be quite strict about, so might as well get used to it now. One more example, just so you can see that it starts to go a little quicker once you know what to expect. Let's look at letter I. We can see potential powers in the front. You'll always recognize them with numbers in the front, so bring them up. A to the 4th, cross it out. B to the 6th, cross it out. C to the 7th, cross it out. Now parentheses need to go first. Always parentheses first if you can. So I'll leave natural log of A to the 4th for a moment. Minus, then I'll condense these together. I can tell plus means multiply. So natural log of product B to the 6th times C to the 7th. Notice I'm just multiplying them by going through the motions of multiplying. I'm not actually multiplying it at all. To condense it even further, I can tell I'm going to use the quotient property because of the minus sign, so I know it's going to be 1 single natural log by the time it's all said and done. And then, because I'm dividing here, I have whatever A to the 4th is divided by whatever B to the 6th, C to the 7th is supposed to be. Again, I don't know what A, B, and C are, so I have no way of really knowing for sure if those are correct until I either make up numbers for A, B, and C and use the calculator to check, or use the answer key to check. Both ways work. It's just a matter of going through the motions and getting comfortable. So if you can, try to do letters J through L. as well as the rest of questions A through F, just to make sure that these two different properties, the product and the quotient, are starting to become more natural. In the last question, question number 6, we'll talk about how to reverse the thinking. So in essence, 5 and 6 are reverse of each other. If 5 makes sense, you might as well try 6 without the video just to see if you can reverse your thinking. And if you feel like you're not quite ready for that yet on your own, the last video here will help you through 6 so that we can do it together.